What should Tom Aspinall do next? And we have to word it like that, right? We have to word it, what should he do next? Because we got it all figured out, right? I'm talking about, this is how our mind works. When we like to pretend that we're Sean Shelby or Mick Maynard, we like to pretend we're the matchmaker with the magic wand. We can't just say who we want. We've got to lay out our case of why. Keeping business in mind, seeing what people will get behind, right? We got a few parts. If we don't understand we're not playing this game under that concept, then just keep saying Conor McGregor. Oh, people tune in to see it, though. That sure be a big one. Please move over here. My lunch man, it's only got 30-minute break. Let me talk to somebody intelligent. Okay, it's one of those spots. So, Tom Aspinall has said that he would like to fight Jon Jones. He'd like to do it in Manchester. Now, that's very Tom Aspinall-esque. It's Tom Aspinall-esque, and it's the right answer because it's the answer that Israel Adesanya would have given. If you ever find yourself in an interview and you want to know, did I do that right? Did I have the right moment? Did I leave behind what I set out to bring in the first place? Ask yourself, what would Izzy do? The king of the call-out is the king of the call-out. Doesn't matter if you like him or you don't. Doesn't matter if you're a Frozen fan or anti-animation. You handled yourself on the microphone the way Adesanya would have handled himself on the microphone. You've done the right thing. Tom not only told us who he wanted, oh, and by the way, the absolute hardest guy. He also said where he would like it, which in some ways is saying, I've earned something here. I came up the hard way. Now, I'm not saying you didn't, Jon Jones. I don't know if I can beat you or not. That's what the suggestion of the match is for. But I just came in to where you were supposed to be. It wasn't somewhere I wanted to fight. When I laid down my head at night, I didn't think about fighting a Russian in America. I thought about fighting my top opponent in front of my people or going into enemy territory and fighting them in front of theirs. Not a guy from here and here and we're going to go fight in a neutral territory. So I'm going to tell you it like this, John. Whether I'm where you are or you're ahead of me, either way, your shelf life is 50% of what my shelf life is. I will be here longer, and from this point forward, I will sell more t-shirts, more tickets, more pay-per-views than you, starting now. But you damn sure are something special, and since I just did you a favor, I just saved the night within your division. I didn't even put my foot down that they take the belt off of you. I agreed to fight for an interim belt. I've done nothing to harm you, and I admit to your greatness, but you're going to do one for me, which is you're going to come to Manchester to figure this out. And before you say that gives me an advantage, I fully admit that gives me an advantage. But I've never looked for one before. Never thought I was owed one. Never asked for anything before. Now I've got the belt. I do matter a little bit more. I did something on a date that you were supposed to do, so you're going to come to Manchester. I loved it, guys. I loved it. I added a lot of words to Tom there, but I love it. I love the concept behind it. And whenever you're negotiating, you always throw out more than you want. You throw out a dream. But then you understand as a reasonable person, you said a lot of things to give them something to say no to. So that you could also look reasonable when you go, I couldn't get that, and hammer in on the thing that you really do want. When you're buying the new house and you demand that they change those pink shutters to white, and they look at it and they go, it's $160 at Home Depot. Go do it yourself. Okay. Now I look reasonable. But eventually they're going to get down to the 30-year conventional and want you to do it in 20 conventional, and you can show them, I'm a reasonable person. I moved on those gutters. I'm not moving on that, which is why I put it in the first place, because I always knew I wasn't going to move off of that. Do you understand the point? I don't know that you do. I think that I might be going a little fast. But what is next for Tom is now the hottest topic, and it wasn't a week ago. Francis was. In fact, Francis, we were having all sorts of fun with him. We were having conversations on Francis, just guess his sport. Francis was so mysterious and we knew so little. His own promoter was coming up and not giving us a lot. They've interviewed everybody in the world except for Tyson Fury. There's one fighter who we don't need a whole lot of approval for. I'm still on Francis, which is Deontay Wilder, because he's a free agent, but we haven't gone and spoke to Deontay Wilder. And when somebody did get a camera on him, he called out Nate Diaz for MMA. If you guys know what I'm talking about, I refuse to believe that I saw that in the correct order. There is no way that Deontay Wilder, post-Francis versus Tyson, has had an interview and called out Nate Diaz in MMA. There's no way. That had to be an old clip that somebody resurfaced. And online, the kids online can do that, but they swore up and down that he had just said it. So we could get one little piece on Francis. I mean, this was 1 week ago. One little piece, one little direction, one little possible date. This was red hot news. And now it's just a story. It's number 3 and number 4 down. The hottest heavyweight in the world right now is Tom Aspinall. And he did it very quickly, but he did it largely the same way Francis did, which is by giving us a surprise. And so many people, right, you got to really understand what we're talking about. Like, so many people are going to go, Chael, what was the surprise with Francis? Well, he competed really well. How did Chael? I don't even know what you're talking about. Did he win or did he lose? He lost. That's no surprise. I knew he was going to lose. Like, you're going to run into those people, and then you run into the 67,000 people that actually watched the thing, and you start to understand where that surprise factor is so helpful and so powerful. Well, was Tom surprised? He won. Well, I thought he was going to win. Well, he knocked him out. Well, I thought he knocked him out. He won over Sergey Pavlich by knockout in the very first round. And I'm not sure Sergey Pavlich ever punched him, right? It's such a relevant thing. And that isn't to be literal that Sergey never touched him, but it is such a relevant idea that Tom was the one on the offense. It's so relevant because offense is your single greatest defense. A coach will generally split practice right down the middle, whether you want to do that in the 2-hour practice or the week as a whole, or you look back at the month or a bigger view of the season. He's going to put about as much time into defense as he did offense. That's very responsible. I get why you would do it, but you will never trump the idea that if I'm bringing offense to your face and I'm never stopping, I don't have a big, huge use for defense. Offense is the best defense. It always has been. So now that we're in these dialogues of what are we going to do with Tom, I don't think it's going to be surreal. I don't think anybody is in a hurry to put Surreal back in that position. Now, I can't give him too hard of a time for flicking it against Jon Jones. And one of the reasons that I realized he quit long before he got in that ring against Jon Jones, sometimes it takes one to know one. But I do know exactly what I'm looking at, but the stances are a little bit different. I don't believe that Dricus du Plessis is going to be given a title shot taken by the guy, Sean Strickland, in a title shot that was looked over by du Plessis himself, and it was done out of fear. He had such a fear of the man, Adesanya, he was going to have to deal with that he said, no, I don't believe he's going to be given the opportunity to get that same crown over someone with the courage who said yes. But then again, at the time I made that decision, I didn't know that Adesanya was going to do an interview and say that he's out for a half a decade. So I'm very confident in telling you guys, Surreal is not going to get the shot at Tom. I'm not confident in telling you that that's not the right draw. I'm not confident in watching Tom over the weekend. I just flew home, beautiful Westland, Oregon. But over the weekend, I watched Tom draw a live gate in North America. The same guy I watched draw 2 different live gates in his country across the pond. And I'm not confident telling you a guy like that cannot and doesn't belong in there with Surreal, who has the appropriate ranking. Oh, and by the way, can sell out an arena himself. Like, it feels like we've got a good piece of business here. But that same guy, Surreal, had the opportunity to do a favor for Tom. He had an opportunity to be the guy that was in there with Tom and turned it down. And just because now there's a shiny gold belt in play because Tom's idea worked and yours didn't, I don't know. Spite matters. Like, nothing that I just said is what a reasonable person would say. Nothing is what anybody who's making a business decision should factor in. All the emotion, you hurt my feelings first, so I'm not going to hurt yours. Can you fill the building up or not? Moreover, can you fill the building up hotter and faster than anyone else that I could put in here? If the answer to those 2 things are yes, and you're ranked number 1, that's likely your fight. But you still have got to defer down to a question, and we cannot move on until we have a hard and fast answer to the question. Before I tell you what is next for Tom, before I tell you, should it be Tom versus Pavlich? I apologize, Tom versus Surreal. Before we do any of those, I need to hear something from you. It's going to greatly affect the decision that I then make. What are we going to do for sure, for guaranteed, for locked in? What are we going to do with Stipe? You tell me for sure what is going to happen to Stipe, and then I will tell you who should Tom Aspinall face next.